Welcome everybody. It's 4:22 on the clock. It's the 4 of the Emperor, the 22 of the Fool's Journey. And I have a Metatron read and the full Twin Flame, my 7 deck read on the table for you guys today. Again, some important messages came through, very significant. And let's go ahead and roll the die as well. You might want to take a deep breath first. Sending lots of love and blessings out to you guys. Thank you for joining me. All right, so let's go ahead with the die here. What's going on for today? Today is the 28th of January, 2022 for the Twin Flames. We have the number 8. So again, it's the 28th, and we have the 8 as well. 8 is the Strength card, inner and outer strength, but also manifestation of dreams and the dance between the masculine and the feminine. We also have Capricorn here. We also have Saturn. Okay, and Saturn and Capricorn go together. And we have the 8, which is also Leo of strength. It's interesting for me because I always see Leo is kind of like the dad that should be, right? Capricorn's so restrictive, right? As opposed to the restriction or the old way of fathering, I feel like we're going to be moving towards the more of a Leo energy of the father who wants to play with their children as opposed to restrict them. So that may be coming up for that specific reason because we have both Capricorn energies here with Capricorn and Saturn, and then the 8, which is free flowing, right, and continuous. There's no blocks like restriction like Saturn energy. So let's see how that comes up in the read. I have the Metatron read here first. Today, I was called to deal a little bit differently. Oh, I have to tell you how I dealt this today. I was watching Amanda Ellis, and by the way, this is her deck, right? The Metatron deck is her deck, and I don't have the deck because I was watching Amanda Ellis. I have the deck. Because I have the deck, I know I watched Amanda a long time ago, but I came back to her videos, and so I've been resonating with them more recently. And I was watching her today, and she was talking about February 2nd. And of course, I brought it up a million times on my video. And of course, it's a portal because it's 2-2. So I pulled a card after I turned off her video, and I got the exact same card she did, which was that Master and Mystery card is the first card out. And that's what this read ended up being. But I didn't pull them out in threes because usually I pull them 3 across times 4 rows. Today it was guiding me to do 4 across. And this is the way it came out, okay? So the original 4 rows are the middle, right? So it's 4, 4, and 4. Here's the card that Amanda had pulled that I also pulled for the 2nd of February. And then here's the underlying energies. This is the bottom of the deck. So initially it was this underlying energy of the Queen of Wands with the lilac energy, and then the Knight of Wands next to it, which is this heart energy here. That was, what the energy surrounding it. But then when I dealt it, now we start with the 0 point, the void. And these are the underlying energies. So it went across like this, these 4, and then these 4, and then these 3 down at the end, and then I was guided to do these 3 as well. It came out perfectly to 21, just like I normally do, just in a different shape, but it's the same amount of cards that came out that usually do. So, okay, I'm like, oh, was supposed to be for energy regarding February 2nd, and then I did another little read afterwards. Well, I'm like, well, if this is all the information that came up about the 2nd, it isn't just for the 2nd. It's expanded information for today. But then I asked for today, so I did a mini read for today's date, the 28th, and this is what came up. So that'll come up after the first read. Okay. So again, today's the 28th. That's the 2 of Wands, the Twin Flame energy, the choice of path, perhaps. And we have the day adding up to 35 today, which is the Wounded Warrior. So 35 is an 8, but it's also the 9 of Wands, which is the Wounded Warrior. Again, that victim mentality of holding on to our old wounds instead of letting go and being happy instead. Along with the 2 of Wands, which is that we always have a choice of path. It's always our choice. No matter what we say to ourselves, there's always a choice. So we can either let go of the wounds or choose to be happy in any one moment, which is why you're told to, or you're invited to, stay in the present moment. Because as soon as you look forward, you go into lack because it's the future of what you don't have yet. And as soon as you look back, you go into the pain of the past. So, what came up today? So I pulled these cards, and again, like I said, the card that Amanda had pulled was the lilac card, which has to do with mystery and magic, the etheric realms and magic. And I pulled the same card first. The underlying card, like I said, was the orange Queen of Wands. And then the colors that came out in this read were lilac. What else came out? Indigo, green, and that was it. Okay, so very significant. The heart, the third eye to the crown, basically, and then lilac. So that's very much that higher energy of the heart and above, of mystery of the universe and magic. And I don't think there were any elements that came up in this read. Nope. Nope. So this is how it went. So the king, like I said, initially the Queen of Wands and Knight of Wands came up together around that mystery card of lilac. And I'm losing my voice a little bit. With the magic message, as the cosmos mirrors the indigo magician. And that's where I was guided to pull 4 in line instead of 3, 3, 3, 3. It was 4, 4, 4, but they still added up to 21. So at 4, 4, 4, 3, 3, those patternings were coming up in this read too, because I'll be telling you some more of those. But here was triple 4s and then 2, 3 3s actually, which adds to 21. And the underlying energy was the void, the Om. And notice they're both 4 letters, V-O-I-D, and then Om is A-U-M, and then space, because that's a silence there. It's not a blank space, actually. There's a purpose to it. So the walking away within of the 48, and then the white card came up, which is the King of Swords, of purity and innocence, of diamond light and angels. And the Queen of Wands, number 24, in orange energy, was all about releasing the energy to the King of Swords, and then to the void. Right? So the swords and the wands are always balancing each other, right? Because the swords are really cold and the wands are really hot. And when there's too much ego in the wands, the swords come up. And when it gets too cold or distant, then you go back into that passion energy, or it's actually inspiration when you want to go into the pure energy of it. So the releasing energy to the King of Swords and then to the void, then for some reason I was guided to separate the numbers out to 12, 45, and 8, which is wisdom, grief, strength, and health. Releasing your wings and that stuck energy I keep bringing up regarding the wings. And remember, wings is the W of 2 U's in G, which is in God. 2 U's in God. Stretch upward and lunge to release that stuck energy. And when I get these messages, I stop doing my cards and I go do it. So the message was coming up. So if it resonates with you, go ahead. But, don't do anything that's not good for you, right? Or if you're not able to do something, don't force yourself to do it. So this is the way the read starts out. At 10:51, so again, the King of Swords is coming up with the 51 and the 10 of the Wheel of Fortune, which is destiny. The magical mystery tour. As the rocket takes off, as in the steepled doorway of the castle in the cloud, ground control to Major Tom, the heart on fire from the magic kingdom queendom, or magic dum-dums. Pa-ra-pa-pa-pum, pum, pum. So the little drummer boy's coming up there, but as well as that drum beat when you're making a joke and you bum, right? So they kind of finish the joke with that. It was coming up as the same kind of energy. The heart on fire from the magic kingdom queendom, or the magic dum-dums, pa-ra-pa-pa-pum, the little drummer boy and Pinocchio coming to a sky theater near you. The cosmos mirrors you. The cosmos mirrors you as the heart pounds and the nose knows and the indigo glows. Complete and whole, as my Nat showed up, Nat King Cole, unforgettable at 10:57, which is destiny of the separation, which remember separation also means sharing, So as the indigo glows, both complete and whole and balanced, Nat King Cole came up as unforgettable, the king of coal or carbon. Imagine all the people living life in peace. And then I was crying because that was John Lennon coming up as an ode to Yoko from John, the John of God, but God cannot deny the others too. A parent's growing pains, the shack. So all those energies are coming up. So if you haven't watched The Shack, make sure to watch it. There's definitely important lessons in that movie. And so John was coming in as an ode to Yoko, so of course I had to look up what was going on with Yoko right now. And again, the indigo child glows and connects with the stars, letting go of control, or the emperor's time to release their time in the sun, exaggerating the shadows, to be with the family all of light, or of all light. So this was coming up as well because part of what came up with John Lennon is that, you know, when he had Sean, he stopped working to be more of a family man. So that same energy is coming up here for the divine masculine. So, but I have to tell you, John was definitely here. I was crying like I do with my eagle who's lost his mate, and it's making me want to cry again. So my intention here, my wish is that Yoko hear this. This is an ode to Yoko from John, the John of God, right? The peaceful one. But God is also coming up like in The Shack, that they cannot deny the others too. A parent's growing pains, that they have to love all of their children. Again, the indigo child glows and connects with the stars, letting go of control, or the emperor's time to release their time in the sun, so perhaps stepping down. Exaggerating the shadows to be with the family of all light. A happy place to wake up to, and then review in the purple moon at sunrise. So then at 11:09, which is kind of that reflection of 9/11, from the fall to the winter, but now comes the spring of life in March, and the slivery moon or the silvery moon of June. And then those numbers started repeating each other again, 444, 333, which actually resonates with my business, right? It's Twin Flames 3344. But 444, 333 was coming up, and then 666 with 3. And it was coming up as like the 3 sections, right? 3 4s, 3 3s, and then 3 6s, and then the number 3, noting that. So the time with the family and time to reflect. Beacon shine on, mountain and waves, you know, like the Rock of Gibraltar type of energy with the waves pounding up against the bottom of the rock. You are that beacon shining your light up. You are both the M and the W, the mountain and the waves, that complement each other perfectly to power the light source, the energy, the lighthouse. So it's definitely the water wheel energies coming up as far as what's going to happen as far as the inventions that are going to allow us to use ocean water for drinking water. So this is coming up again, I feel, as part of that. Using the power of the waves and pulled in through the mountain. I was literally getting that picture of the pressure and the energy made from the waves beating against the bottom of the mountain and then pulled in through the mountain and up, or big jetties, it doesn't have to be a huge mountain, to produce light and warmth for the fall and the winter. Or when bored, but this was coming up as BOARD, when the board, time to be a sounding board. There's an energy source in regards to this. There's some kind of board or device, a sounding board or device used, maybe so like sonar we were talking about yesterday, some kind of sonar device used to collect the energy from the waves of the water in the mountain and then pull it up to the top. And that's where the energy was coming out. So there's an energy source invention here that's coming up. The rock and the pillar of strength contains longevity, just like the mountain, right? It's the most energetic thing on earth, right? It's been here forever, right? The pillar of strength contains longevity, staying power. Because of the Knight of Cups, healing the emerald heart, the nature of a healthy heart brings light. It brings forth the light. The inner children who are, so instead of saying, who are you today, it was saying, Who are you? Who, the inner children, who are you today? And that was funny about talking about the children, because then my nephews texted me back about the birthday party for their child. So on the tree of life, the wings are coming up is very important here. Remember, wing is W in God. Red light, green light is now orange or tangerine light and golden light, or just different shades of gold, yellow gold, rose gold. That which in the spring becomes the rose, the womb of the heart, the double womb, the two wombs of the heart and the actual womb before the tomb of the pine cone eye, into the loom where we all weave in and out of each other and bring good news, and leading by example is the success. It's not about the Six of Wands card being success. It's about bringing good news and leading by example. That is the success, not the success. On the journey, remember, enjoying the journey, not the outcome of life, where the King of Wands then gets too passionate as opposed to inspired, and then needs to rebalance before leading the way with flame in right hand, being the right hand man in the dance, answering the call to come upstairs with the keys and ring in left hand. Roots all locked up down in the basement. It's now time to work on weaving back together the rest of the clan. So imagine the tree. Let's see if I have to show you the pictures of that card. So imagine the tree that's been broken, right, separated, and how it comes back together, which is the energy of this card here. Okay? So what they were showing me is that this is like the really older people, right, who just are wise because they've lived so long. And then here's all the newbies, and you see how all the newbies easily come together? And we're working backward now, back to fill in the gap of the in-between people, right? So this is the very young, the tops down, the new babies that are coming in, and the very old, the ground-ups that have been around for a long time, and so they've learned by their current lifetime, okay? And then the ones in the middle that need the help right now to bring the family tree back together, okay? So that was coming up from that card. So that which in the spring becomes the rose, the womb of the heart, the double womb of the womb and the heart, before the tomb of the third eye, the pine cone eye, into the loom of the grid where we all weave in and out of each other, bringing good news and leading by example, is the success. On the journey of life, where the King of Wands gets too passionate sometimes as opposed to inspired, and then needs to rebalance before leading the way with their flame in their right hand and their keys and ring in the other, in the left hand. So the roots are locked up here down in the basement. It's now time to work on weaving back together the rest of the clan. The Knight of Swords, talking about codependency, is the key to the freedom. The secrets are shadows. So to heal, the shadows must be brought to the light, right? So all secrets are just shadows yet to be shown. So as long as we want to keep secrets, we're holding on to our shadow, and then we can't have complete peace on earth because people are still hiding things. In order to have a higher vibrational earth, we have to let go of our secrets. So secrets are shadows, and so in order to heal them, they must be brought to the light. As distant relatives easily come together now, and working your way down to the trunk, once the roots are stabilized and grounded to each other, which is the older, like the grandparent ages, which is my category, and then trickling down the top downs, the newbies, the new children, the young ones coming in to help and heal their elders from the ground up. It's like the ground uppers, the older ones, have done their bit, and now we need the top downers, the new babies or the new children who are now growing up, to complete the fourth quarter of the race that's not actually a race. And I was getting e-race. So the oldest and the youngest are very well balanced, working their way to the middle group, the most challenged or shadowed. And then Yoko was coming back in here. The underlying cards, I was getting the underlying cards like Dr. John, and the last three like, it's not Dr. John, it's Dear John, but that's coming up for somebody as well. So just like in a letter, right? The underlying cards were the Dear John part of the letter, or the introduction to the letter. And then the last three are like the closing remarks, or the I love you at the end of the letter. The last three cards in this read were like all my love. But this was a message from John to Yoko. And Yoko, when I looked up Yoko, it's not brand new. I think her album was from this past year, last year, but it's called Ocean Child, Songs of Yoko Ono. And I guess the group name is Japanese Breakfast, who did this one song that came up. They were singing Nobody Sees Me Like You Do. Okay, so that's Yoko, and by the way, she's 88, which is the twin flames dancing side by side. And she's coming up very much as the mirror of Jesus and Mary Magdalene and the group of twins. And it was very interesting because when Wikipedia shows you the person and their description, their birthday and all that kind of stuff, they say when they're active from, and it was active from 1961, which is the year I was born. And then there's another one where I looked up the active, and it was connecting to my son's year that he was born. Oh, when Sean was born was 10/9/75, which is John's birthday. He was active since 1991, which is the year my son was born. And by the way, Sean was born on John's 35th birthday, and that 35 is the Wounded Warrior, but it also came up in the 35-year-old epidemiologist I just told you about from the other video, talking about Atlanta, where he was found in the river for perhaps having known something he shouldn't have known. And I'm seeing my floral lamp in my window right now, and it looks like beautiful flowers growing on my barren tree outside with snow, because it's been snowing all day outside. It's like a basket, but of stained glass windows, like in a church. To see what's coming up. It's making me want to cry. It's like, I don't know if Yoko made something like this, or if this is a message from John to Yoko, that this is really him coming through. But it looks like, like a stained glass window or lamp, Tiffany lamp type things. It's these beautiful purples and greens and yellows and pinks flowers, but it looks like a basket hanging on a tree outside, on a winter tree, maybe something that she would have loved. The picture of this, and if I take a picture, it won't do it justice, because the flowers will be so small within the picture. But this is coming up from John with love, and the Japanese Breakfast is her song, singing Nobody Sees You Like You Do. And please listen to the words of that song. It did make me tear up a little bit. So Yoko's birthday is February 18th, which is coming up. And again, she was active from 61, and Sean's file was active since 91. And he was born on his father's birthday, October 9th. And then I was going back to the read with Going with the Flow, 1-1, which is that 1-1, which remember that because it comes up in a different way. And this is at 11:50, which is Justice, which again is Libra energy. We're just talking about John and Sean. And the 10 of Cups of emotional fulfillment and a happy family. So go with the flow, 1-1, inner children, if you get my drift. Paddle on with the flow gently, while releasing the wounded warrior, Kundalini, untapped energy, into the universal tree, like give it back to God as a gift, right? So you get the sun, it's like sending that extra energy you don't need back to the sun, just like we do with oxygen and carbon dioxide with the plants. And that came up with something else the other day as well. So it's coming up as the vertical pillar of light going up and looping energy, but also loopy energy. You may be feeling loopy. With the E, remember the and sign of the E with the line through the middle is the picture of the electric loop with the magnetic current running between it. The electric wrapping around the magnetic current, pulling you in a direction upward to the gold, whether it's rose or yellow or pink, Roswell or Rosewell or Roseline. Slow and steady, thar she blows. And there was a card I pulled yesterday that had the whale inside a bubble yesterday that I pulled from my deck. The toroidal field at an angle. We talked about this too, right? Because normally you see the toroidal like an apple, a straight up and down energy. But it was showing me how this works as far as creating energy and movement to move the toroidal field in a certain direction. A magnified perspective, seeing a new perspective, but magnifying it, right? Seeing it closer and closer. But this is not about obsessing over something. It's about seeing it. It's not about thinking it. It's about seeing it in your imagination, like Yoko, because that's her song. She recently said, I think, that she feels like she was incarnated solely to bring that song into the world because they were her lyrics. So it's not about, and Spirit's connecting with me. So it's not about thinking and, being hyper-focused on something because that's obsession, right? It's about seeing it in your imagination and feeling it, becoming it. So there's no thoughts involved here. It's a knowingness that all is well. To see a new perspective on the roses well. And that was coming up from Roswell. And then Yoko Ono, I was guided to write down her name. And you notice how many O's are in her name, and you know for me that the O is the source, the human embodiment of source energy. So I broke it down because for me, the Y is 0 point, and then we have the O of space or source energy, the K of energy for me, and then again the O and the NO for Ono. And the capital N for me is the Christ vibration or the Christ consciousness. So it's coming up as the 0 point human, energy human, or two humans with Christ consciousness between them, John and Yoko. The twin flames untying the karmic knots. And again, that picture of the two diamonds, and that comes up in one of her grid cards, which is the Vesica Pisces, but in diamond form as opposed to circles. So let me show you the grid card too. If I can find it. Oh, it's on the other end. Where did you go? It might have gotten mixed up into the deck. Let's see. Oh, I did shuffle afterwards. I forgot. So we have the two diamonds here again. Let me see if I can find it for you really quick. Of course, it'll be the last card that I find. All right, grid, where are you? There you are. All right, so here's the grid. So you see how this looks like two diamonds overlaid? Imagine it without the grid overlays, but it's like two diamonds coming together. You can see by the shadowing at the top. And then it's like the Vesica Pisces, only instead of circles, it's diamonds. So that was coming up as we're still talking about Yoko and John, two humans with Christ consciousness between them, the twin flames untying the karmic knots of the two diamonds together like the Vesica Pisces. In the diamond grid of that Vesica Pisces, the two circles that make the petal in the middle, which is that Christ fish, it's the flower of life, and it's also the eye energy of the third eye, right? So the two circles and then the Christ consciousness between, and then Ono, which is literally two humans with the Christ consciousness between. So, okay, Ono literally is the Vesica Pisces. And Yoko, 88, untying the knots. And it made me think back too, my son was born in October, and I remember someone telling me that if he was born, it was, I think, a reader I went to before he was born, told me if he was born before October 10th that he would become president of the United States. And I was like, oh, I hope that doesn't happen. But he was due later in the month. But it's just funny that I remembered that because it would have been in Libra, but he's Scorpio. He was born in Scorpio. So, and part of what Amanda was talking about in her video, one of the things was to go back to your original name and what it resonates for you, how it resonates, what it feels like, what it means to you. And so here I was getting the breakdown of Yoko Ono's name, so I went back to break down my name as well, which then tied into Yoko Ono's name. So this was very interesting. So again, Ono is 0 and 0 with the capital in between, which for me is Christ consciousness, okay, which is the way this was coming up when I looked up YKN, which are the only letters in Yoko Ono, it was coming up as Y known, which means known, and then why not came up. So only your knowing and untying the knots were coming up for YKN and Yoko Ono, along with all those zeros, which is source energy, backing them up. And then yesterday, was it rubies? There was a ring or a bracelet that came up in one of the cards that was emeralds actually, but I was the ruby ring in the is it the LENORMAND REVERIE deck that has the ruby ring in it? That was coming up here, associated with Yoko. And then the knowing and untying the knots, which we just talked about, that came from the deck, because this says untying the knots, and literally this word was coming up, knots, when I was searching the acronym, along with knowing. And then I wrote my name down. I'm saying, well, how does my name come up? And it was interesting too, because my name is Evelyn, and of course Eve, we all know what Eve is, but Lynn was in the movie I watched last night, and the movie I watched last night was Men Who Stare at Goats. And if you haven't seen it, check it out. It's an older movie, but I couldn't believe I never saw it, because it had to do with remote viewers in the army, but in a very humorous but very hippie-ish way as well. And you might want to check that out. But anyway, the original hippie, the soldier that went hippie, his name was Lynn in the movie. And so that popped up for me right away as soon as I was looking at my name. So we have Eve as in Adam and Eve, but it's also two E's around the V, which for me is creation, and then the two E's. And then Lynn, which means, Evelyn means little Eve, basically. So Lynn is that little energy. It has other meanings too. But for me, it was coming up as that soldier who went shaman and also remote viewer. And my middle name is Esther, which is funny because my parents basically named me the same name, because the translation from Hebrew into English for Esther is Evelyn. So my parents named me Esther Esther, or Evelyn Evelyn, whatever it is. And my maiden name is Cope, C-O-P-E. So I broke it down, and literally where Yoko, Ono, O is O-N-O, Cope was coming up exactly the same, only with the balanced O, with the line down the middle, the pi, so, which was coming up the same way, but in a whole different way. It was coming up as the two pi symbols with the three lines across in the middle, which is a Hindu symbol of being blessed, which is coming up as the Christ consciousness, basically. So exactly the same, and it looks like two eyes with the three lines between it, which is how the Hindus would wear it, right? They put the three lines or the dot, whichever symbol they resonate with for their section of Hinduism. So it was coming up as, and then my nat showed up, of course, again. And Lynn, so Esther was coming up as E-S and then Ther, T-H-E-R, which means I slaughter, I pierce or cut or pierce or slaughter, yeah. And then E-S, I always bring up as Sophia, and it's coming up as little Eve and Sophia. So again, bringing in those from the first human, right? The first human feminine to the Sophia of the mother, God, all the energies in between of the divine feminine. And then the last name came up as Co-Pi. Cope is C-O-P-E. So Co, and then P-E is, if you take the E apart, it's I and then three lines across. P, one, and then three lines across, which is literally the symbol of pi, the circle with the line down the middle, which is a balanced human, and then the blessedness of the three lines across, which is that Hindu symbol of the circle in the forehead. So three lines across, as you all know, also is symbolic of the menu at the top, and originally was the hamburger menu, and also in math, meaning both equal but also congruent at the same time. So congruent meaning two shapes of the same shape and size, that if you overlap them, they would match exactly if they were overlaid, but sitting side by side, coming together. Something that, or in other words, something that is similar in character and type. And then the U, or the Holy Grail for me, was also coming up as the intersection between two sets of things, or the union kind of energy. So the three lines across is also related to the Freemason's third degree, or the Master Mason. And then, of course, the Hindu symbol came up of the Tilaka symbol, which is very auspicious, worn on the forehead between the eyebrows. Basically means God blessed. And there were four types of symbols that they used, and they have to do with the different sections, whether it's Brahman or Vaishya or Shiva, that kind of thing. So And of course, they incorporate all the different symbols depending on what they're into, right? So they have some of the symbols are the U with the flame in it, and of course, some of you know much better than I would, but that symbolism was coming up very strongly here. So I wrote my name again, and remember the 1-to-1 now. The 1-1 that I told you earlier is being parallel to the 3 lines across, okay? And so then I have my name. And so then I was guided to pull the E's apart, right? The E is the 1 plus the 3 lines, VELYN. So it was coming up as the number 1, the number 6, and then the number, and then Lyn, which adds up to 60, okay? With the blessing in the space between. But it was also coming up as congruent, 1 being congruent to 6 being congruent to Lyn, which is 60. But also it's LYN, which I'll get to in a minute, because that means the right angle or perspective of 0 point, which is the Y in the road, LYN, and capital N of the Christ consciousness. And then Esther was coming up as EST, which for me, of course, is Eastern Standard Time, but it also means grace and favor and affection. It also means I am. And it means Eastern, but Southern as well, which is so funny because I live on the East Coast, but I was born in Memphis, which is the South. The eve, the evening, to the east. The Orient also came up, the south. Estonian came up as well as envy and recital and party. And then ESTH comes up as very Finnic and tribe living in Estonia. So it's coming up as I have roots in the Orient, but also in Estonia as well. So it was coming up overall as 1 similar to 6 and 60 of lovers, love, family, and community, and peaceful, movement, rowing, her grace, or consent, kindness, affections. I am Eve, evening, Eastern and Southern, connected to Orient and Estonia and recitals. And again, here's my last name, Cope, comes up here as the co-pilots and then the E between, right? So it looks like a face of someone with the Hindu symbol above their eyes. And again, the 3 lines is specific to Shiva. And again, and so connected also to the Shiva Hinduism, and 1 of 2 co-pilots. So the Estonians, I had to look up because I know very little about the Estonians, but last year I think someone had said something about how overtaken it is with the elites, because I was getting a lot of the abduction for sex trafficking was going through Estonia, that it was very easy to do that. I was getting a specific salon that was actually passing the girls out through some kind of base, underwater base there. So I was definitely getting it as one of those ports. And it was right next to a military port, I think. But I looked it up, and Estonians, and this was in Wikipedia, Estonians were in the same area for greater than 5,000 years would actually make them the oldest permanent inhabitants in Europe after the Baltic ice lake left that area. Finnish and Ugrian language arriving around the early Bronze Age, around 1800 BCE, and they were considered very country folk, or Marathas, I'm not saying it right, I'm sure, but that's okay. And then mid-19th century, they changed to the Esti Rahvas, or in other words, the Estonian people, during the Estonian, quote-unquote, national awakening, which then when I read further, which had to do with their becoming more educated and not just like farmer-type people. They consider themselves Nordic as opposed to Baltic because there's that Finnish connection. And then 1918, they became independent from Russia, but 40,000 still lived, in the Russian area in 1920. So almost all of them, 37,578, moved from Russia into what would be considered Estonia, back to be in Estonia in 1920 to 23. So of course they were invaded along with everybody else in 1944 with Hitler, and regained independence in 1991, not so long ago. Many work in other countries. It's got a lot of emigration as opposed to immigration, and they're always trying to get more population inside the country. And the biggest concentration of Estonians other than Estonia is Montreal, because they left during that war period. So then back to the read, and the mailman came, and that was right at 1 o'clock. and he was singing. Now I can always, he's a talker because I'm always hearing him talking on the phone as he comes up to the door. But today he was singing. So that's really funny. So castle in the sky, and taking off or blast off, creating a vacuum of leaves and feathers, or in other words, a pulling up of the light, the heart radiating back to the sun from the Emerald Island heart, the 12 faces of crystalline DNA, the 4 human, the 4 Pleiadian, and the 4 source connections, the family of the sun, who are you in your 1-to-1 connection. Indigo child reflecting in the stars and the purple moon, the 0 point, and the journey into time and space travel, from wishing on a star to landing on the moon in 1969, and now blast off from within. The void, Om, which is where we started out from, AUM space. And the void, of course, is 4 letters as well. The void and Om and magic realms connected to the heart's passions in astral travel and remote viewing. The indigo children to balance the King of Wands' duality from the top down. So these new energies coming in, whether they're teenagers, younger children, or newborns coming in now, are coming in to help the energies of the King of Wands to neutralize their ego, right? Because passion is inspiration plus ego. So all these new little energies are coming in. They're top downers, right? They think in a very different way than we do as the older crowd. And the King of Swords letting go of the spotlight to be with the family, like John Lennon, to go within and lead by example instead of, being in the ego light where you have to get attention to make sure you're a man, right? So it's letting go of that idea. At 109 was coming up as the numbers 1 to 9, stretch and lunge, beacon and emerald heart, healing the inner child on the journey, or releasing the wounded warrior and the codependencies in the key to freedom. Dum-dums, which was coming up earlier. And they're always kind of funny with the way they come through there. And so, what about today? Because I started that whole readout just asking for one card about what February 2 is supposed to bring up. And it has to do with the magic realms and our connection to those realms. And the 111 here of the magician, the magic, and the 11 of alignment with justice, truth, and balance. And then the family sunrise is coming up. It's all about the family and birthing. The new little birdie, perhaps. Signs from spirit with love. And then 332211 was coming up with the new cards I had dealt, which then reduced to 6, 4, and 2, which then reduced to 12. And the other the other spread was 21. So there's the reversal of 12 and 21. So they all come back to each other. The King of Swords and purity of the 4 and 51 is the Emperor and the King of Swords, purity and innocence, but also the higher love being the key to the new path. The King of Wands may be off balance here with a new you or a new child on the way, right? Something that knocks them off balance. To bring the family tree together, stronger than ever, releasing the wounded warrior, triggering the Kundalini awakenings in everyone, conquering the fears for dreams, with help from family here and off planet, meditate for clarity, instead of shadow work, it's shadow play for heart healing, be the Knight of Cups, and that's of being love, and walking away within to the Om. And then silence. And you notice that when Om releases, it's Ma. In the void. The V, this was creation of the O, which is the human embodiment of source. And then the ID of the interdimensionalism. Identity, right? So your off-planet identity. Rest, retreat, and pause. And then from Yoko was coming up the ruby. Then the diamond and emeralds were coming up the cards as well. And the Om, the AUM, and then space. With the Om symbol, which looks like 30, which is union, with the Hindu mark, right? In the middle of the forehead on top. The union or tilaka, which is the blessing, which is tilaka is AKA till, right? And till has to do with the language, the bridge. And by the way, sesame came up here, and the sesame trees were coming up as trees, photon trees, and Ako is Oko, O-C-O or O-K-O. It's the same energy. It was coming up as Oko teas. So AKA Till, or the Tilaka, is the AKA language, or bridge, or torch, or finger, the finger of God, and the kindness. So this was coming up as a message of the ruby red slippers and the diamond light, the emerald city, and the Om, the A-U-M and space, that there's no place like Om or home. The symbol of union and God's blessing of Tilaka. The source Laka. Laka is man or spinal cord. The finger of God down your spinal cord. Okay? So source man, your spinal cord, gentle Play-Doh to extract from and progress, develop, and pass through from. So talking about the importance of your spinal cord at 131, which is the magician of the 31 of that conflict and battle energy, but also expansion energy and playing games and the pursuit of happiness. So again, I want to remind you too that Ono is coming up as that face, that Ono and my last name Cope were coming up as this, the two pies with the E's. This is from the E, right? The lines from the E, which also is the congruency of the two balanced humans with the blessing from God between, okay? That was very significant. Okay. So back to the read in front of you. Let's see where it is. Okay, so this is the basic read from the SIRIAN Starseed deck. And here's the full read with the 7 decks. I don't feel like it's focusing really well. Are you seeing it okay? Let's see. There we go. Okay. Okay. So again, the movies I saw were Men Who Stared at Goats. Oh, and My Father's Violin, which was also really good. I would watch both of them. And by the way, in My Father's Violin, it was about a red-headed little girl. So not only, the red's coming up a lot here. You know, the red Mercury came up yesterday, the red-headed little girl, the person who's working in my house, red-headed, and then the bird who landed in my tree. There's something about the redhead. I don't know if that has to do with the red Mercury or not, but it's definitely significant right now. The SIRIAN Starseed deck was cut at 737 to 38, which is the King and Queen of Cups, and the 7 of the Chariot that they sit in to ascend. And at 801, the E of Flames, again, the energy of flames, which can be drama as well, because remember that flames or wands are not just inspiration, but inspiration plus ego. That's where the passion comes from. The inspiration is the purity of it. The 801 is the dance of the magician. And MES was also coming up, having to do with the plural my, the collective my. And then I finished clarifying at 815, which is the dance of the 15 of the shadow. And remember, it's shadow play now, not shadow work, which is then in line with the Leo father of wanting to play with their children. We have reason of the Emperor as the major arcana, as well as Starseed, which is the Fool, and Indigo, which is the magician. So the Emperor, the Fool, and the magician are the main majors in the read. Before the read was the Chariot and Reflection, which is the Hermit. And then we had 1 Pentacle, 3 Swords, 1 Cup, and 3 Wands. So 1313 was coming up here, which is, again, the Death or Transition card, right? From going from one cycle to the next. We have the Knight of Pentacles, the Page of Swords, Page of Cups, and 2 Queens, the Queen of Swords and Queen of Wands. So a lot of players in this read, but mostly feminine and children type energies or messages. And then before the read was the Page of Wands. After the read, the 9 of Wands, which is the Wounded Warrior. We had double 6s and double 1s in this read, which was interesting because I just brought that up in my name as 1-6-60. So 11 is Justice, Truth and Balance. 66 is the Queen of Pentacles. The 3 is the Empress. And significantly, 16 then is also significant of the Tower, of the sudden events and epiphanies. And that can be a sexual exchange as well. And then we have the 12 of the Hanging Man, the 23 of the King of Wands, the 35 of the Wounded Warrior, and the 56 of the Two of Swords, being in your knowing and keeping to yourself or pretending not to know so that you don't get knocked off balance. And then we have 68 of the Page of Pentacles, and then 8, 9, 10 begin again. The code line was all about karmic completion and self-love, and there were no numbers on the code line today. Karmic completion and self-love. Now, karmic completion was coming up with the K apart from the armic, so there's some armed energy here, whether that's military or something else. And then completion and self-love. So somebody might be saying F-love, but that's also for me the phi energy of expanding and contracting or reflecting in the middle, love. The messages came across like this. To see a knight as the key and the street, path, or saint being the key, in alternating currents of the emperor or his reasoning, if there's urgency here regarding the need to have self-love or more self-love and karmic completion. The sea, like the ocean sea, after death test, in the path of alternating currents, as I talked about the energy of the water, creating clean water, and the emperor with reasoning being the seer of this. All right, someone's going to invent something that will be able to clean ocean water, and then we'll never run out of drinking water for anyone. It'll be free to everybody. So also see a good stack or state, a reason. And remember, a stack is, a needle in a haystack. So a good, maybe it's so much fun, right? I like breaking codes. So you want to find the stack to find a needle in again. So see a good stack or state, a reason, or perhaps the stack of the emperor, who may be decorated or appropriate for a certain task. And then we have the sea, again, of the ocean, the sea knight becoming up as the Navy SEAL, which comes up like the movie last night again, of the men who stare at goats. The sea knight or Navy SEAL states reason for reception or a welcoming committee. The energy, like an arm or weapon, so it's coming up, energy is the same as like an arm or a weapon arm that you create to use in that fashion. Energy is used the same way if you know how to use it. Again, talking about remote viewing and how to channel your energy. The calm, which is communication, but also the calmness, the peace of a dispute, a stain or a dish connection. And that can represent a dish, like a satellite dish connection. The cell of the flower, to be the salt of the earth. And ice, a seal. A cottage or shed was coming up here, as well as a soul, a room, great hall, house, or castle, being good and noble, to sell or be the messenger. The sail, the canvas, the shellfish, the flood, and again, love, expanding and contracting or reflecting of love, and this can be in poetry as well. And then the rose comes up again in Ra as well, which is the beginning of the ET experience on Earth, right? So we have the Knight of Pentacles reversed as we start the read in the underlying energies. Let me get this focused in again. It's being temperamental today, right? So we have the underlying energy there with the little cards on top. And beneath the Knight of Pentacles reversed was the Page of Wands upright, the Six of Wands upright, Chariot, Ace of Pentacles upright, and then the Reflection, which is the Hermit, reversed. The Page of Wands found peace, and the Chariot came with an offer of a new life. An old man over isolating, perhaps going nuts and coming out. But the Knight of Pentacles came up several times here as reversed and stuck, blocked, resistant, not well or disabled, wanting to confess to lay down their burden with the King of Wands upright, or the Knight of Pentacles reversed, dumping a load on, or with the King of Wands upright. Perhaps at work, the Wounded Warrior tripping or seeing things. And the Page of Swords reversed, Aquarius, or Wounded Warrior, a pain in the ass child who may be depressed or being arrogant. Sharing, settling out, the Knight of Swords rushing in with the truth to hang out with the Page of Swords who's reversed, who may be making the Queen of Pentacles reversed crazy, or the Knight of Swords upright and the Page of Swords reversed, constantly at it with each other, or talking and can't sleep post-war, a virus, a fight, or fear with the King of Wands upright, looking for clarity, looking for the truth, or to split, divide, or a citizen's arrest here, or man boys wrestling and pinned until they say, give. The little lizard on the King of Wands' platform, when his war is over, where will they go? And this could be a father worrying about, like, when I'm not here anymore, what will happen to my child, especially if they have a very young child. Or perhaps worried about the fact that whoever's on their platform, whether it's their own child or maybe an intern or something like that, may only be after them for their money at 933, which is the Hermit and the 33 of the Christ vibration. And standing up for oneself without being defensive. So with Cancer upright, Virgo reversed, and Aquarius reversed here, Pisces or Capricorn upright as well, or the King of Wands is watching from above, perhaps the family missing him, and that could be someone who's passed on, and the family's just missing them or reminiscing about them. The Knight of Pentacles reversed and the Queen of Pentacles reversed, and the Page of Swords reversed with the Knight of Swords upright, unable to fight. Sharing, settling out, pacifying the beast, being strong, with Leo or ego, and having a hard time recovering perhaps from a childhood. An arrogant man with a nursemaid to calm his savage beast after a sudden event or an epiphany, letting the poor or quote-unquote less thans off the hook, or perhaps left out in the cold without a foundation, or has-beens as they're calling them, a parent or home and the efforts made to take them in, a child or pet who may be freaking out, not wanting to leave their home. Leo is upright, Scorpio reversed. And this could be not wanting to displace a child or pet, but then a parent dies. Perhaps they don't have any parents left and someone in the family has to take them in. You deserve love comes up here, and beneath that, codependencies, walking away and avoiding the issue. The High Priestess upright with keys, and the Devil feeling castrated, trying to mark their territory. With poor judgment, or perhaps spoke too soon, someone needing to swallow their pride here and make the call, to dump emotional attachments and be realistic. No longer confused or fantasizing, made the wrong call and throwing the chance to have a son or child away, or an animal who stomped through the bushes or garden and peed on your plant while everyone was partying, tripping, or a nudist camp, or there's nowhere to hide. It's like someone at a nudist camp where everyone gets naked and that there's nowhere for them to hide themselves. And they were coming up in the energy here as just being very different than everyone else and not wanting to be seen. The club feel or club feet were coming up here, as well as strange hands and long hair, or someone being very self-conscious of their differences, or took their head off, or regretting a circumcision, or perhaps someone who doesn't agree with that tradition at 10:03, which is Destiny and the Empress. And I brought that up recently too, about the circumcision that is basically cutting the masculine off from his heart, his feminine heart, when they circumcise. Energetically. The environment here is the 44 of the Four of Cups, grounding, integrating, and mastering of love, and domestic harmony, the 46 of the inner children loving each other, outer children as well. And then the underlying energy of the stubbornness, the refusing to move, the starting over with the Queen of Cups upright, who's longing but coming back down to earth after a falling out or bad memories or out of options and the conflict over. No more living outside. Or the Queen of Cups is trying to get along with the Knight of Pentacles reversed, who may be very stubborn, or just disabled, or on strike. Right? Someone totally resistant to move. Conflict is over with the Knight of Pentacles reversed in a divide, recovering from exile. That's been no fantasy, but someone's being pushed to live in a more green environment, and maybe they're not comfortable with that. And that's at 10:24, which is the destiny of the Queen of Wands. The Knight of Pentacles reversed may be homeless, or moving out, or just a visit, or starting over in love. And the wounded warrior surrendering to emotional fulfillment in the never-ending story, or in other words, the beginning of the end. The King of Pentacles upright may be frustrated here, but with good news, leading the way and starting over in love, resting on break and releasing from anxiety, running away, lying, cheating, and stealing, needing to swallow their pride with the Six of Cups children or soulmate, or happy memories. Being nostalgic at 1041, which is destiny of love, self-love, spiritual love, and new love. Being nostalgic and depressed, or inspired Queen of Cups reversed may be depressed, daydreaming of what could be. The completion of a commitment, or the Hierophant feeling badly about the Empress upright, or Taurus in energetic exchange, with Virgo, Magician, and Hermit reversed, or Ten of Swords upright, maybe a lot of suffering there, or surgery, or betrayal. With Gemini or Virgo bleeding out, perhaps out of mind in pain. The recent past here is the Indigo upright, needing clarity on the quest, the pursuit of happiness. For the Page of Pentacles in energetic exchange, or lots of back and forth with the Ten of Cups family and the Knight of Swords, announcing a bold move or a runaway perhaps. Moving to happiness for the wounded warrior to be more present. And again, that could be the coming together of getting a father or a new father who has to take on a child, coming more into that family mode and leaving behind their need to be in the spotlight. Moving to happiness, and then the foundation of the Starseed, receiving a big download, perhaps feeling sad but free at the same time, with memories of running away, and now they're leaving for good, or a child needing stability, one who won't leave them. The central energy of the Page of Swords reversed and the Page of Cups reversed, the vulnerable child around bad influences, and then the Magician or musician comes along, working to offer a new life and end their nightmare, the High Priestess in a betrayal, or Pisces or Virgo in pain or in a painful ending, or bad news for Cancer rejected third party when the Magician or Gemini or Virgo made a big offer for pain and suffering for the High Priestess or Pisces. And that could be someone literally trying to pay someone for what they caused them. 1140 is Justice and the Page of Cups, challenged by, and the central energy there is the Page of Swords reversed. There's very much the Page of Swords reversed in this read, as well as the Knight of Pentacles reversed. And that could be two siblings or two kids in different families, but in the same position. The challenge being the Emperor upright, the Queen of Wands looking the other way in a connection, reaping rewards with the King of Pentacles, who's looking at the Queen of Wands, coming in with good news, or an offer to the Queen of Wands, and the King of Cups not knowing what to make of all this. They're kind of watching all this going on. Hanging out with the Queen of Swords reversed, or the Queen of Swords reversed hung out to dry, and the King of Pentacles with the Queen of Swords reversed Gemini, or lovers in energetic exchange with unwanted advances from a flirtation or showing off, the fallen angel or losing patience in a near-death experience, or Sagittarius and Scorpio both reversed here, fighting to drive the chariot at night, or, so again, it could be kids fighting for the car, or with two Cancers, or someone with double Cancer, until all hours of the wee morning. So that could be a Cancer person, or someone who's dealing with Cancer as well, or Cancer third party making up with the King of Swords, or paying their way, or someone had a near-death experience after a fight, or a fight for their life, or a car accident perhaps, under the influence and lost control, or got stopped by the police and had to walk the walk of shame at 1152, Justice and the Queen of Swords. And so now is the Page of Cups reversed in the present crowning position, feeling rejected or vulnerable and shy, or the opposite of that, which is spoiled and entitled. Married or committed to peace or vacation away, or a break from a marriage, or Taurus sending their kids back to Pisces reversed with big love, Holy Grail, pulling in peace and an ending to the conflict. Destined, or with Libra, the world upside down, with the Page of Cups reversed, the Hierophant and Justice, which can be Taurus and Libra, both upright, in an all-business relationship, distant with fond memories of the kids, and the Page of Cups reversed, unable to express how they feel, and that can be a pet as well, who can't express the loss that they feel, especially if a couple broke up and the pet was close to both of them. And then we have the 1158, which is the Justice of the Four of Swords and the 5D connection, juggling, performing, and the Knight of Cups offering love to the King of Swords, and the Ten of Pentacles, family, business, or community of abundance, healing the fallen angel, or the loss of patience with happy kids or happy pets, and sunshine, Leo, the divine feminine in the 5D world, and the Queen of Pentacles reversed, perhaps with new information, and coming out to the Queen of Cups reversed. So it could be Pisces or Scorpio right here, or maybe they're both in their chart, but that's the Queen of Cups, and the Fool free to leap, with Leo upright, Sag, Scorpio reversed, and then Cancer upright, Aries upright, and Cancer upright all here, with Virgo reversed as well. Or the King of Pentacles is dumping the Queen of Pentacles reversed, and the Queen of Cups reversed, for a third, the Queen of Wands upright, perhaps an Aries who's a wounded warrior, but the wounded warrior could be separate from the Queen of Wands as well. Or we have Pisces and Virgo find out about the Queen of Wands who's out drinking or with bad influences, buying drinks for the King of Swords on purpose to get them drunk because maybe they're not supposed to drink, or trying to bribe a cop when they got stopped. And soon here is the Queen of Swords reversed between the Queen of Wands upright and twin, or an ultimatum, post-war or virus, near death, letting go to fix things, repair something, that could be a house as well, or make amends with Pisces or the sealed divine feminine, or perhaps needing to make amends with the whole neighborhood, the country, or the world at large. The Queen of Swords reversed may be addicted to the Knight of Wands reversed, or in other words, men who are bad for her, and the King of Swords upright is over her and her world. Or the Queen of Swords reversed is under the King of Swords upright, with Capricorn upright, Sag reversed, Pisces upright, and Scorpio reversed energies here. Scorpion reversed and Pisces or divine feminine making up with each other. The water energies were making up with each other. But the Queen of Swords reversed and the Knight of Wands reversed may have ulterior motives. So watch out, water signs, if you're around these two, because they're codependent and they may be up to something. Or the Queen of Wands upright and the Queen of Swords reversed is the same person. She may be a fiery Aquarius or Taurus energy who may be emotionally drained after the war or near-death experience or an illness or surgery, and the twin flames seeing themselves as the Ace of Swords reversed, which has to do with a split, a divide, or a lie, or the need for clarity here, in order to share, dumped, purging, or pushed to the emotional limit, with injustice or Libra reversed in a 5D connection with the devil or temptation or Capricorn, or ball and chain. Dependent, powerless, and standing up for self to dump emotional attachments or perhaps multiple loads. All other options, holding back an announcement, or Capricorn resting, or in 5D connection powerless to Aquarius reversed, dumping on Libra reversed, or the decision was not in Libra's favor, and injustice under Aquarius reversed, and Capricorn wanting the truth. Give your relationship a chance, playfulness, and let your friends help. Around the twins are how they're seen as the Three of Wands, being present to the flame, the Knight of Wands reversed, player falling short perhaps, or just refusing to rescue someone this time, or frustrated at night, or forcing themselves on a Cancer. This could be a sexual abuse as well, forcing themselves on a Cancer, or lover, Emperor. And Sag is reversed here with Cancer, Gemini, and Aries upright at 12:21. Or the Emperor at night telling the Knight of Wands reversed to get away from them, like that could be a partner wanting to have sex and the Emperor saying, get away from me. And then perhaps after the Knight of Wands, which may be the feminine energy, was out drinking and came home late. And the Emperor's definitely giving them the sideways glance, like, don't even come near me. The block here being the Six of Wands, being present to the flame, the Page of Wands excited to lead the way with the Divine Feminine, or the World, and Pisces at 12:24, which is the Hanging Man and the Queen of Wands. Karmic completion and self-love, but even more so here, change and individuality. At 12:25 is the Hanging Man and the Knight of Wands. So in the mountains at night, under the moon, perhaps double dating, with Lobster being the fifth wheel, looking for their pearl. Perhaps an unstable home, visit, or move, with the Queen of Wands, perhaps who's an Aries, or perhaps newly free. The Queen of Wands released to work with the Empress, which may actually be good for her, and that could be a mother as well, or a work release program, or freeing herself from anxiety by working with or for the Empress upright, or towards being the Empress. The Queen of Wands, wounded warrior, or the Queen of Wands being guarded to the Ten of Cups family post-war, perhaps done stretching and growing and now walking away with new information and comfortably numb. In the Two of Cups, or some kind of agreement here, with Aries and Taurus and Cancer upright and Virgo reversed. The Knight of Pentacles reversed with a fresh start, perhaps after a big bomb was dropped on their head, of a split, a divide, or one big lie, and present to flame or gifts. The Indigo Page of Swords reversed, challenged by the Emperor's control, and the Queen of Swords reversed leading the way for the Page of Cups reversed, or rejected Queen of Wands, or child who miscarried perhaps, or mother and daughter working together perhaps, Taurus and Aries, or Sag, and a lot of water around them. The Queen of Wands Wounded Warrior with the Ten of Cups family, or emotionally fulfilled, but that would be weird since the Wounded Warrior is coming up there as well. Maybe maybe she is the Wounded Warrior, but she's finding happiness in other people's unhappiness. But the Queen of Wands Wounded Warrior and the Ten of Cups family post-war, virus, or surgery, leaving with new information and on the same page, perhaps doing it for the child at 12:34, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, shut the door. Also the Hanging Man and the energetic exchange. So there's a big offer here to Virgo, Knight of Pentacles reversed perhaps, from the Page of Wands seeking peace or vacation or travel, offering for the Knight of Pentacles reversed perhaps to come with them. With Indigo, without conflicts for that, maybe they can go, and Starseed or Fresh Start with the Page of Swords reversed and the Page of Cups reversed, which could be children, pets, or negative messages here, challenged by the Emperor and their rules. In a split and needing clarity with the Queen of Swords reversed present, with good news for the Queen of Wands Wounded Warrior to make her family happy post-war by walking away and within with new instructions and medications perhaps. So that could be someone checking out of rehab or out of a hospital visit after a surgery, something like that. And this was at 12:38, which is the Hanging Man and the Queen of Cups. So again, there's a lot of talk about pets here, so you may be having conversations with people about their pets and things like that. I certainly did today as well. So, and this is about people who are very attached to their pets. There's wounding around that needs to be cleared. So then I reviewed a little bit this morning again, this read, and the Knight of Pentacles, Page of Swords, and the Page of Cups, all reversed, are challenged by the Emperor who's, in control and he's upright. And the Indigo may have recently been freed from whatever their situation was. And that could be, normally that'd be Gemini or Virgo. But it can be any sign if it's that Indigo magician, childlike energy. Or received a big download from the Emperor. And that's the challenge, right? So maybe dropping a bomb on you at the last minute kind of thing. And then the Queen of Swords reversed split or lied in a great need for the truth, present to the journey, to or with the Queen of Wands upright Wounded Warrior, or stuck with 2 kids or pets, or mixed messages, as the Emperor and 2 queens, but along with the Emperor and 2 queens, the Queen of Swords reversed and the Queen of Wands upright. The Queen of Wands is the Wounded Warrior, or with the Wounded Warrior, who's the victim energy, with the Ten of Cups family, no longer growing too quickly, or at war, no longer trying to be something they're not, walking away and within, knowing and keeping their energy clear, perhaps in a daze though, perhaps with the energies coming in right now. The Knight of Pentacles reversed stuck with a bomb dropped by the Emperor about a split, divide, or a lie, or needing more information to be present, or about the gift or gifts, or flame, or the journey. At 10:03, which is Destiny and the Empress, the Indigo is proposing to the Page of Swords reversed and the Queen of Swords reversed, which can be mother and child or siblings, or just air signs who are very negative here. But the Emperor upright is in the way, according to them, regarding the Page of Swords reversed. Maybe he doesn't care if the Queen goes, but the Page of Swords may not be appropriate in his eyes. Again, to bring good news or go on the journey or lead the way. Maybe they think they're too young to do that. The Page of Cups reversed and the Queen of Wands Wounded Warrior, vulnerable and shy, or rejected, or spoiled and entitled. And the Queen of Wands may be a multitasker, Wounded Warrior, or just doing too much for the child they love, or perhaps a child who miscarried, or just newly pregnant and feeling sick and yet emotionally fulfilled all at the same time. Perhaps now done resisting it, finding out that they are, or just no growth and walking away numb, but at least with some understanding, or keeping their thoughts to themselves to stay balanced with a partner, or just agreeing to disagree here at 10:09, which is destiny of the hermit, or an ending, a completion of some sort. Yep, and I woke up on my birthday this morning. Not that my birthday is today. I woke up with the time being my birthday. So let's go ahead and pull a few oracle cards, see what comes up. I know it's been long. It's 11526, which is the devil and the page of wands. So there may be a devilish child there, who's the magician indigo there going on. So watch out for the page of wands that just came up. And it's 5:38 on the clock, which is the Queen of Cups and the Hierophant, which can be a Taurus energy. And the Queen of Cups was coming up as perhaps Pisces, doesn't have to be. It can be any water sign or just a really loving energy. It was just 15:50 and 51 on the clock. So there was the emotional fulfillment of the shadow side of the magician, and then going into the King of Swords as it just turned into the Tower right now. So I want to pull from my new deck again, because I'm just breaking into this deck. So this is the Shaman Dreams deck. It's an oracle deck. So what is our takeaway from all of this today? One more. They're really stiff. All right. What is our takeaway today? These just came out. The cosmic womb. And it's funny because the womb comes up a lot for me, but it's coming up a lot this week. And also Amanda Ellis, it came up for her in a weird way too. So there's definitely energy about the womb today here, the divine feminine, and the cosmic womb, which was definitely coming up in my read about our connections to our galactic family. So the 6 here is of the lovers, but 6 is also love, family, and community. And let me focus this in so you can see it a little bit better, because it's such a muted picture. So cosmic womb, and it looks like 2 fish coming together, actually. It may be a snake or something. It's hard to tell what it is. But my first impression was 2 fish. And we talked about the fish. We talked about John and Yoko today, like mirroring Jesus and Mary Magdalene, which, they did very much when he was still living, trying to be more natural and be that example for others to follow. And then we have the me talks, like a detox for you, like having a spa day. So repairing the mind, body, and spirit. The 39 is the Knight of Cups, or loving yourself. So love, family, and community, or the lovers, the cosmic womb. And again, this could be pregnancy as well, and giving yourself love, much love that's needed, especially when you're pregnant. Okay. And also even when you're not pregnant, where it's so easy for us to be kind to the ones we love, but we're not always that way to ourselves, right? It's so easy to defend your child, but is it that easy to defend yourself? Not always. It depends on your personality. Some people are overbearing in that way, but most people are much more willing to step up to the plate when it comes to defending their children or their partner, but not as much for themselves. Kind of willing to take the hit, so to speak. So it's about real, that self-nurture. And remember, the 2 wombs were coming up for me today, the womb and then the heart womb. And the wounds around that. And the other cards coming up next are for you guys is the heart home with compassion. The 27 is the 3rd flame. It's the Ace of Wands of inspiration and being ignited into compassion, coming home to your heart. That's weird, because when I looked up, remember Dear John, when that came up in the read, I looked up, it was because John of God came up. So of course I looked up God of John, and of course all the stuff about him being a pedophile was coming up. But literally the picture that she showed on the video of that would literally look like a building like this. This is like a magnification of the building she showed in that picture. That's so weird. But that has to do with John of God. But in my video, we were talking about John Lennon of God, the heart, home, and compassion here. And then again, this came up yesterday, the beloved radical acceptance of the two, which is the divine feminine, the high priestess, the being able to see both sides of the situation and then come to the middle in an agreement. And then there is, again, what's coming up as the glowing plants that will be coming in, or the glowing whatever comes in. The glowing plants, the glowing jellyfish. I guess some jellyfish glow already, right? I'm not sure about that, but they kind of look like they glow under the water, especially if there's light shining on them. But again, the glowing plants coming in, and here's again the journey of coming in with good news, success, having followers and leading the way. But again, it's not about the success. It's about the bringing in the good news and leading by example. And then again, from yesterday, they still stuck together, the Garden of Venus. So this is very much the heart being the home of compassion here, with new inspiration, new passion here coming up for the beloved, with radical acceptance all of a sudden here. And then going on the journey, because the indigos are glowing. You're glowing. So somebody's definitely pregnant here. And then the Garden of Venus, rest and renewal. So this could be pregnant with a new project, pregnant with a child. Maybe your child or your grandchild's pregnant, but they may be glowing. But it's also about the new children of the indigo generation, all glowing. And bringing in the top-down kids, bringing the balance to the bottom-up people, which is my generation. And oh, look, the next card is my father's violin. Remember I told you about the redheaded little girl in the movie? And there's the violin. Watch that movie, My Father's Violin. It's on Netflix. I don't know if you have Netflix, but if you can. There's 33, which is the Christ vibration, standing up for oneself without getting triggered. And this is great because the little girl was raised by, it's kind of like a street life. And so she was very bold because she would perform on the street. But you can get what you can from that movie if you want to watch that. But, and I think there was a poem that came up, The Hanging Violin, something like that. That came up last year, the year before in my notes. But the violin is definitely coming up regarding, right, because the violin is very high vibrational music, so it's very good to listen to. It brings out creation. That's the message coming through in this card. So if you want to get inspired, listen to some violin, because it's that very high vibration. It's the violin as opposed to the cello or the bass, because it has to do with the pitch of being very high vibrational. That and the flute are very high vibrational. And there's many masks here too of the Queen of Cups. So here's the Jesus and Mary Magdalene energy, literally, of the 33 and 38. The many masks, the authentic self. She wears many masks. That Mary Mag. Okay. The next card, look how beautiful. I haven't seen all these cards yet. I was just looking at that. But look how beautiful it is. The Fool's Embrace, transmuting pain. 22 is the Fool's Journey. So again, there's child's pose type of thing, So there's always child's pose when you need to relax yourself. And remember to put your arms up over your head if you're in fear or stressed out. The bottom of the deck is the Moon Maiden, new beginnings. So again, there's new beginnings all over this, and lots of children, pets, and message energies here. New beginnings of 41, which is self-love, spiritual love, new love. And again, the first cards that came out, all about the womb, the cosmic womb, though, right? Birthing something new in the cosmos, right? Using your imagination. And say somebody's just being very creative in the bathtub here. So using your imagination like Yoko would do, and dream up what your life is to be. And know it is now, right? That everything is good in every now moment. So let's see from the Journey of Love what comes up for you guys. I'm looking at in Me Talks, I'm looking at the TOX, and the kisses and hugs are coming up. with the T, because T is time out. Time out for kisses and hugs. To repair the body, mind, and spirit. And the Me Too. Okay, let's see what comes up here. Devotion to the small. So again, all about the children, the pets, and the vulnerable. The 32 of the journey. And intimacy. And there's that energy of John and Yoko. And the children. Living for today. Oh, oh, oh. So Imagine's coming up. You might want to listen to Imagine. 35 is the wounded warrior. So again, the energy of the Kundalini rising to pull all the old wounding out of us, and the intimacy that brings between two people. The 32 of the journey, and devotion to the small, which is about your inner children as well. Imagine, use your imagination. Okay. The bottom of the deck is distant shores, and again, the moons are coming up big time here. Distant shores of all the purple moons. The 18, which is the moon, and that's what my birthday's 9/18. That's what time I woke up this morning. So both bottoms of the deck here are the moon. The moon maiden of new beginnings and distant shores. And then just bringing up the ripples and the energy from the water as well. There's a lot of purple and greens here. The heart and the third eye. And love. Self-love, spiritual love, new love. The rippling tides. And the magnification of the moon, of the purple moon. I'm getting an island. And then this green, like the mossy green. So I'm getting Borneo Island again. And the glowing plant. I think it's showing up very soon. In the waters around Borneo. Is that right? That's what I'm getting. We do have 4 moons here too. So where are we at 4 moons? Because when was the full moon? The 17th? Around there? So 17th of January to 17th of February, March, and April. And then May. So the full moon of May would be 4 moons. Yeah. Let me read to you what that says. For this deck, we have devotion to the small, 32. Again, the children and the pets. She bows, she honors growth. She sees that within the smallest flower there is the teaching of the earth, the gospel of Gaia, the mystery of life demonstrated. She recognizes that she too is of nature, subject to the mysteries of growth and life, that in honoring nature and taking pleasure in life, she opens her heart to allow great creation to happen through her. This is the feminine wisdom, alive in men and women with open hearts. There is an innate wisdom within you that understands this devotion to the Earth Mother as an important step in fulfilling your spiritual destiny on this planet. She's speaking to you now, letting you know that there's a small change happening, something that's growing within you, that you may recognize but not think as so important, and yet she tells you now that it's very significant. Soon you'll see that what you thought was a seed to yield a single flower is actually blossoming into a lush garden of manifestation. Gratitude and love for the small changes happening are leading you into fullness that you can only dream of, so enjoy. The message of this oracle for you is that your blossoming is occurring now, and the Earth Mother has gratitude for your presence within her being, for the work you are doing to help other human beings. She asks for you to surrender any concern you have to her, to let her creative power continue to gently guide you into your rightful place in this world, that you may shine as you were born to do. In service to the evolution of this planet, she is helping you now, so trust her. And remember always that we're just part of the earth, right? We're like the bacteria on our skin. We're like to the earth. So it's all part of you. You know, It's not a thought whether they belong to you or not. It's just they're a part of you. The flower is a poem that tells you the truth of a thought in the fragrance of a dream, as fleeting as a heartbeat and as lasting as a memory. So again, the flower. And the flower was coming up for me when I asked about in the neutron, or the atom, was the fleur-de-lis, which is the flower. And the next page is God Speaks. Okay, so I think that's enough for today. I invite you to drink your water and get your rest, get your joy in your nature, and rise and be loved, guys. Breathe. Rise and be loved. See you soon.